Yeah, there's two things. One, they haven't been doing it in the last few years, but for quite a while, the course was to just take a piece of plywood, put it at the inlet of a culvert. Winter storms would come, they'd blow the culvert out. Well, they had no maintenance money to replace that culvert, so all the roads behind that just went back to nature. And
Right.
there was no maintenance. The other one is we do have one success story with Fish and Game, and that over in Scott Valley, Fish and Game threatened a lot of landowners that had historically taken water out of ditches and the rivers for over 100 years for their grazing, and required them to get 1603 or 1602 permits. And that once you signed the permit, if they decided after 5 years not to renew it, you lost all your water rights. Well, the Farm Bureau and two landowners filed a lawsuit against Fish and Game, and they got handed a big victory to the Farm Bureau. That found out Fish and Game was going too far outside their legal constitutional authority. So Fish and Game has actually backed down a little bit lately, but they'll come
Well, what
back.
you're seeing, especially, well, we saw it here locally with Alexander's Dairy, where, you know, with no notification, they suddenly reduced their grazing, you know, shut off their grazing permits. And what you're seeing throughout the country, especially in the western states, is huge tracts of BLM land and government land that is being removed off of their grazing rights, and huge sections. Right now, of course, the sage grouse is that super dure for the Idaho, Washington, Wyoming, Montana area, where the sage grouse is the air spotted elk. Yeah, it is. Well, it's not even endangered. It's just, you know, it's less than endangered, but because it's you know, they want to preserve their land, the area for the sage grouse.
But you can still hunt them.
You can still hunt them,
Yeah.
right? But they want to preserve and protect the land that they're on, so they shut down 35% of the grazing lands. And what's occurring, and what's really happening, and if you're not seeing it, you're blind. In Josephine County, Curry County, Delaware, Siskiyou County, is by eliminating the ability of rural communities to operate, to function, to have, you know, a thriving economy, to drive forward our governmental services, because it takes tax base, it takes business, it takes success, it takes lumber, timber, mining, it takes all the things that we've used to make ourselves a flourishing economy. And if we have jobs, if we have an economy, then we can provide the services to our community that's needed. Healthcare, education, public services. If they deny us the means to provide the money, provide the services to the communities die. And that's what they want. They want these rural communities to die. They want to drive us out. Because if we can't make a living here, we'll be forced to make a living somewhere else.
Is Russia and China signed on to this?
No.
Or are we the only idiots?
Chinese have another agenda. They have been quietly for a number of years buying up all the foreclosed properties throughout America.
But it's here. I mean, these things are here.
Dean?
Yeah.
I've heard, and of course, most people know that your authority in this county is, I don't know the great word for it, but you're the guy who stands between us and the federal government. That's correct?
Correct.
Okay, when I think about all these Agenda 21 issues, I'm a child of the 60s, and I'm questioning authority left and right, and I'm saying, I go to the pointed end of the stick and I say, well, I look at Rosa Parks, and I say, why not just say no? And who's going to enforce all these forces that are supposed to be coming down to us if we stand up and just say, I'm not going to do it. If you want to talk to me, go talk to my sheriff.
Yeah, and that's what several people have done. I mean, that's where you've seen several communities have done that, where you know, the farmers, or in one case where a gentleman was being harassed because he had a dairy of 6 cows, and you know, they came in and tried to make sure that that he, you know, after they inspected his place 5 times, you know, and then finally, you know, he said, listen, you know, if you're going to come back, get a warrant or something like that. And then they cited him and wanted him to appear in court. And the sheriff said, listen, you have no authority over this gentleman, because he doesn't sell his milk outside outside of this community. And so if you want it, you go get a judge. You go get a warrant, you go get an actual, and because they never could produce anybody that would ever sign, no judge would sign anything to show the authority over this dairy. They never came back, because they called their bluff, basically, because someone stood up and said, no, I'm not going to allow this to happen. And when they didn't have the authority to actually do, in many cases, what they're doing. And that's what you see a lot of times is because most of this stuff is done through regulation, which does not bind to the states nor bind to private ownership of private lands. And so, they don't have the authority to require our farmers on private lands to take taking permits, for wells that they own. I mean, and they've used historically. I mean, they just don't have the authority. But they want to tell you they do, and they want to buffalo you and threaten you with sanctions and other things. Yes?
I have a question. Has any portion of the Klamath Dam started being removed?
No.
Okay, why are we getting billed on our power bill for the removal of Klamath Dam? I called the power company and said, oh, I don't want to pay for that, I want it to stay. Take this off my bill. And she said, sorry.
Yeah, because basically what they've done is they've acquiesced. I mean, their plan is to remove the power company's plan is to remove these dams because that's been the direction that everything was moving in. And so part of that was that they assessed money to the bills of the users for the eventual removal of these dams. But luckily enough, Salazar left. And before he left, he basically said, well, this is something I can't do. This is something that's going to have to come through Congress. And, the likelihood of them passing anything through Congress is slim, luckily enough on this particular issue. Because the science is totally, bad on this particular issue, especially with the dam removal. But more importantly, I mean, when you think about it practically for the issues of California, when, we want energy, we don't have enough of it. We want water, which we don't have enough of, water storage. So why would you eliminate the very things that California is hungry for right now? Energy and water storage, which is an absolute necessity.
But they're taking the money right
Oh,
now.
sure. Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
Wasn't that a stipulated agreement in there that they got from, I don't know, what the first one, but somewhere that came up, and they said, well, we need to start collecting the money now, and there was some.
It's like Obamacare. They will tax you now for 2 years, and then you get it in 2014.
Somewhere along the line, they got some federal agreement, stipulation that empowered them to hit.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, you did that.
I have a friend who recently got a call. It was from the American Community Survey, and it was the U.S. Census. And we had a U.S. Census, I don't know, a few years ago. But what she got is this form, and it was, I mean, it asked you everything from every school you ever went to, what your mortgage is. I mean, I don't know, there were just so many very invasive questions. Has anybody else got one?
Yeah, I got one.
Did you,
I opened it and said there was possible penalties if I didn't.
well, but can you speak on that? Is that even legal for?
I did not send it in.
Yeah.
No. Under the law, federal law, in this case has been adjudicated, challenged and adjudicated in the United States Supreme Court. I forget the citation, but I have it written down. The only thing you are required by law to put on your census forms are the number of people in your home, not their ages, their genders, your income, where you went to school, any of that. And you don't, what I did when the 2010 census came around is I drafted a letter. I didn't put my name on it, I put my address on the letterhead, and I just put on the bottom, an American citizen. And I said, and I quoted that case, and I said, there are, 2 people living in this house, period. And sure enough, I get, a government lick spittle coming out to my door, Well, I'm from the census. I said, fine, there are 2 people that live here. Thank you very much. And then she left. And that was it. That's the only thing you're required to do. When they send you that form, you can you can check it, 2 people live here, mail it back. Or if you want, I can give you the citation. I'll, be here after the meetings and stuff, and I'll, if you want to get in touch with me via email, I'll give you the citation.
Because they